Have you bought a cell phone lately?
Data transport is billed in full kilobyte increments. An actual transport is rounded up to the next full kilobyte increment, and at the end of each data session.
Car insurance?
The coverage described in 9A only applies when such loss or cost are a result of perils insured against that occurs during the policy period.
Fine print can be at once impossible to understand and at the same time rather self-evident.
Warning, never iron clothes while they are being worn.
It's good advice, but you wonder why Rowena even thinks to mention it.
Never use while sleeping?
Again, good advice. And again, it makes complete sense when using a hairdryer. And you'll learn not to do it after buying a Conair Pro Style 1600, if you read the fine print.
You never read it?
Not really.
Why not?
Maybe scan through it, but it's too much and too small.
A lot of it is what I would call covering your butt.
Chris Dolan is a San Francisco attorney who represents, among others, people who think they have been harmed by a company's products.
It is, in essence, somebody with a team of lawyers thinking about what can we put on this piece of paper to avoid the consequences of perhaps our actions.
Courts have ruled if it's too hard to understand or read, the company can still be liable. Yet the makers of this synthetic fire log felt the need to advise people.
Caution, risk of fire.
Isn't that why you buy a fire log?
One reason it's there to inform and to warn. And another reason it's there is to set the conditions for which that business is willing to do business with you.
Tylenol wants to inform and warn you about its Simply Sleep pills.
When using this product, drowsiness will occur.
Which, if you're taking a sleeping pill, you wouldn't mind. This is much simpler to understand than getting credit from Sears and Roebuck.
Percentage rate that may vary from month to month, beginning with the billing cycle, after the billing cycle, in which we do not receive the second minimum payment due.
Consumer advocates have backed laws that now require some important information to be in bold or larger type, and lawsuits have brought changes as well. Some call those frivolous.
If they were really frivolous, why are they changing? If they were frivolous, that means it had no merit. If it's frivolous, it means that the person who brought it lost.
We couldn't determine why Rayovac felt it necessary to tell people buying its batteries.
If swallowed or lodged in ear or nose, promptly see doctor.
But it's in the fine print, and it's hard to argue with. Mike Sugarman, CBS 5.
Investigators are now trying to determine the cause of a fire at a high-rise senior center in downtown San Jose. Len Ramirez is at the Town Park Towers where flames forced hundreds to evacuate. Len.
That's right, Dana. Anytime you have a fire in a senior high-rise building, you know you have the potential for big problems. But fortunately, the safety systems located inside the building did their job. The fire was limited to a 10-story balcony and apartment, the top floor of the Town Park Towers senior housing project in downtown San Jose. But more than 100 seniors had to come down in a mass evacuation that was slower for some than others. Some of the most frail residents were escorted out by building staff and caregivers, but the commotion, the fire alarms, and the suddenness of the emergency seemed to disorient many.
What happened in there?
I don't know. I sleep.
I didn't know there was a fire. Then we heard noise and out we came. Fire.
The towers were built in the 1960s with overhead sprinklers. They worked.
Right away, the sprinkler came off, yes, right away.
The fire department says that averted a disaster. The sprinklers checked the fire early, giving everyone time to get out.
We have a lot of second language speaking people here, and you have a lot of elderly people in here. So anytime you have a life hazard, that's the number one concern for firefighters. Make sure we get everyone out.
And another safety feature of the building, a lifeline alert system in each room, helped pinpoint the fire's location.
If something goes wrong, you pull a cord in your room and immediately it lights up at the front desk. So immediately they know which unit is having a problem and they can respond immediately. So I'm just glad nobody got hurt.
60 to 70 seniors have been displaced by this fire, and they will need housing at least for the next couple of days due to water damage at their apartments. As for the cause of the fire, it's still officially under investigation, but we've been told by people associated with the building that it may have been started by a barbecue fire up on the 10th floor balcony. In San Jose, Len Ramirez, CBS 5.
Meanwhile, a supersized pit stop at SFO, the world's largest double-deck airliner, landed there this morning. Mike Sugarman says it is being called a working stopover. Hi, Mike.
Well, the next big thing in aviation, Wendy, is big. It's ginormous. It's the Airbus, and it dropped in San Francisco today for a test in preparation for the real thing, real paying passengers next year. That is one mother of an airplane.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the future.
Not as sleek as the Blue Angels, perhaps, the other VIP, very important plane to visit today, but you could fit a couple of those F-18s inside this Airbus A380. The wings are so big, the wingspan from one end to the other, you could play football. It's almost 100 yards. Half of this wingspan? That's further than the Wright brothers flew the first time. That's a 777, one of the biggest planes in flight right now. And look at it, next to the Airbus, it's like a toy. It's a full 25% bigger than the current biggest commercial airliner, the 747, and can carry 150 more people and go 800 miles further on one tank of gas. Inside, they'll be able to fit between 550 and 850 passengers, depending on the configuration. This is a test plane. Not sure how many will travel on this particular one, but like the rest of the 29 already off the European assembly line, it will be able to lift 1.2 million pounds of capacity.
Air travel is going to double in the next 15 years, mainly because it's just a reflection of ordinary economic growth. Much of that traffic, though, is going to be focused in Asia.
San Francisco Airport, the entire Bay Area wants those Asian and other international travelers.
International flights are worth a lot of money. On average, an international passenger spends twice as much as a domestic passenger while in San Francisco.
Which is why the new international terminal was built specifically with the Airbus in mind.
This airport has designed a couple gates to accommodate this plane specifically, and they put in 3 loading bridges to get more people on and more people off in less time.
So I'm waiting now an hour and a half for a flight to Chicago. What's going to happen when there's 500, 600, 700 people on one plane? Well, they insist that it's going to go quickly, that the gates are aligned for this plane. By the way, if you want to see this plane, tomorrow it'll be flying over the city about 2:30, just before the Blue Angels.
It's like watching for a blimp.
It is, the Spruce Goose. I hope it does a better job than that.
Yes, we do too, Mike. It's been all work and no play at a treasure playground in San Francisco, but that is about to change. As Linda Yee tells us, a major renovation in Golden Gate Park is almost done. Linda?
It's going to be a lot of fun, Wendy. You know, Boston may have had the first sandlot ever in the country, but San Francisco city officials say this was the first children's playground in a public park in this country. Now, it may be over 100 years old, but it's not showing its age. It promises to be the talk of the playground set. The old children's playground in Golden Gate Park has gone through a nearly $4 million transformation.
The old one was a bit of a death trap, so it's kind of nice that they've, so modernized it. It's safer.
The old concrete slide is still here, but improved. The way to go down with a flattened box is the same. Besides the usual swings and slides, there's a climbing wave wall that mimics the ocean and sea cave sandboxes embedded with fossils. It's not what Golden Gate Park founding father John McLaren planned back in 1887.
We believe that we're one of the oldest playgrounds, children's quarter, in the U.S.
The playground, now known as Corette's Children's Quarter, was built during the 19th century national reform movement, a time when society believed playgrounds helped reform young children in poor working class families. In San Francisco today, it's a quality of life issue.
These parks are some of the only outdoor spaces that children have to actually play and enjoy being in the outdoors.
Lack of space, good schools, and the cost of living are part of what's driving families away from the city.
We're going to a good farewell party tomorrow for more friends that are leaving the city.
City officials hope to stop that.
Everything we do is about understanding families' needs and giving them a reason to stay in San Francisco.
For now, families and children can only watch and dream. Workmen are adding the finishing touches. Official reopening is July 14th. And even as we report this report, we do still see a lot of workmen out here trying to put the sand in these sandboxes. Reporting live in San Francisco, Linda Yee, CBS 5.